You know that feeling, that kind of nagging sense that something in your life just has to change. It's not always a big crisis, right? Sometimes it's just this quiet whisper telling you, hey, it's time for something new. So today, we're going to dive into how you can turn that feeling into a real, conscious, and intentional journey.
And I think this picture just captures that feeling perfectly. You're standing at a crossroads. You might not have a clue which path is the right one or even where they all lead. But the one thing you know for sure, deep down, is that you can't stay put. Staying right where you are, it's just not enough anymore. And that feeling, well, that's the real starting point for everything else.
So let's talk about that. What is that call for a new direction, really? What does it feel like? Let's break down what's happening when our inner self starts sending us that incredibly powerful signal. And here's the crazy part, isn't it? It's a total paradox. The moment you have absolute clarity that you must change is the exact same moment you're surrounded by this fog of uncertainty about what to do next. This quote it nails it. It's that tension, that pull between I have to move and I don't know where to go that feels so unsettling. But you know what? It's also incredibly powerful.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. It's all about how we frame that discomfort. It's so easy to see it as a failure, right? Like, oh, I must have done something wrong. But what if we looked at it in a completely different way? What if we saw it as a signal that real growth is just around the corner? Yeah, we often think growth should feel like we're climbing a mountain, always up, always making progress. But honestly, more often than not, it feels like this. It feels like doubt. It feels like the ground has totally shifted under your feet, and all your old maps are suddenly useless. But listen, that's not a sign that you're lost. It's a sign you're on the verge of discovering a whole new world.
And that realization leads to this really crucial shift in perspective. Our first instinct is almost always to ask, what's wrong with me? But what if we asked this instead? What is seeking to evolve within me? Just that one little change in how you phrase the question reframes the entire experience. It's no longer some problem you have to solve. It becomes this amazing process of becoming. Okay, so if we're ready to evolve, how do we actually do it? How do we make it intentional? Well, there's this brilliant, super practical framework that breaks it all down into 3 key parts of our lives. First up, people. Seriously, think of your relationships as an ecosystem. Are you actively taking care of it? Who are you spending your time with? Do they lift you up and energize you, or do they kind of drain you? Because choosing to be around people who nourish your growth, that's not just a nice little extra. It's a radical, powerful act of taking care of yourself. Next, let's talk about our environments. This is all about the physical places and situations we put ourselves in every day. You might not notice it, but our surroundings are quietly shaping our habits, our behaviors, and our focus. You know, sometimes the biggest change you can make isn't some deep internal shift. It's literally just changing your scenery, your workspace, the route you walk, the room you relax in. And finally, we get to mindset. This is what the source material calls the true turning point. And why is that? Well, because our people and our environments are all filtered through our mindset. Our beliefs, especially the unconscious ones, are basically the operating system running our reality. They dictate our choices before we even realize we're making a choice. So intentional growth means we've got to audit that system. We have to bring those hidden beliefs into the light and ask, hey, does this still work for me? So you've figured out you need a change, and you've got your 3 dimensions to work on. But what about that messy, weird, uncomfortable middle part? This next idea is such a fantastic metaphor for that exact feeling. It's called the corridor, and it's that disorienting in-between space. You've closed one door, but you haven't found the next one to open yet. Our first instinct is to just run, right? Get out of that uncertainty as fast as possible. But the whole idea here is that the deepest, most profound transformation doesn't happen in the rooms themselves. It happens right here, in the hallway. And this is a perfect illustration of what being in that corridor feels like. It's about learning to just sit with the discomfort. It's about practicing acceptance for what you've left behind and being patient with what hasn't shown up yet. Learning not to flee this space, that's how you build some serious resilience. Okay, so we get the where, the corridor, but what about the how? How do we actually move through it and find those new doors? Well, the answer is way simpler and a whole lot smaller than you might think. This is the secret sauce right here.
Transformation doesn't come from some single, giant, heroic leap. No, it's built one tiny piece at a time through consistent, intentional micro-choices. The small decision you make at 10 in the morning, and then the one you make at 3 in the afternoon. Each one of those is like a quiet vote for the person you want to become. And here's how that all adds up. Those tiny little micro-choices, when you repeat them over and over, they become habits. And those habits, once they're second nature, they create real systemic growth in your life. It's this powerful bottom-up approach that makes even the biggest changes feel totally achievable. It's not about being perfect, it's just about pointing yourself in the right direction. And it's so important to remember this whole process isn't just about you. If you're a leader, a parent, a mentor, or even just a good friend, the way you navigate your own corridors of change, it creates a ripple effect. You're not just changing your own life, you're creating a culture of growth for everyone around you.
When you boil it all down, change really comes at us in two main ways. Some doors we choose to open ourselves. They're conscious, intentional decisions. But other doors, they just arrive. Unexpected things happen that force us to adapt. But here's the thing. In both cases, the skill we need is exactly the same: to learn how to walk through them with grace and evolve, while still staying true to ourselves.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a question. A question for you. Looking at your own life right now, your own corridor, your own crossroads, which new door, no matter how small it might seem, will you choose to open next?